at Cypress Bay High School, with a student population of about 4,500. Questions are raised as to whether or not illicit drugs are circulated on campus. We decided to face the dilemma head-on and expose the truth. Do you believe drugs are used or distributed inside the school?
Yeah.
I do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So do you see drugs in school?
From time to time, yeah.
I haven't seen them personally, no, but I've heard people seen them in school.
Not on a daily basis, but occasionally.
No, I mean, I haven't seen it. I have smelled it.
Yes. No, I smell it sometimes. the drama kids used to smoke in the band room.
What kind of drugs have you heard about?
Like your usual ones, like marijuana.
Right.
Mostly marijuana.
Around the school, just marijuana.
Yeah.
Weed. Pot. Mushrooms. Definitely heard of mushrooms.
You think it's being dealt with at school?
No, I don't think so.
No. Not really.
No, why not?
I feel like nobody really cares. I don't think administration knows like who has them or like where they're being distributed or, you know.
What is your personal opinion about drugs in general?
In general, I think it's a horrible thing.
Well, I think they're bad for you and you probably shouldn't do them. You know?
After consulting students about the dilemma, we decided to gather a fresh outlook from a different perspective, the guidance counselors.
Have you ever met any students who had problems with drugs?
Yes. I spoke to the students, and I usually call their parents if there's an issue.
The first one to find out, then I will keep it confidential, but then if not, I will deal with within the school policy.
Well, a lot of students that are on drugs on a regular basis usually don't do well in school. Their attendance is poor. They're not doing all the work that they're supposed to be doing because they're either tired or they're out doing other things. They stop doing the things that they used to enjoy, those kinds of things.
It affects your academics because your brain will have a difficult time remembering your assignments, retrieving information for your test. You never know if you're going to become addicted, so it's better to stay away. You never know what you were meant to be if you use drugs.
I don't think drugs should be a part of school. I don't think you should be doing illegal drugs, period. School, not school, outside of school.
Are drugs an issue in this school?
Drugs are an issue in every school. Teenagers are naturally curious, and unfortunately, they are curious in some of the wrong things.
We also decided to talk to security personnel to see their views on this issue and how they deal with it. Have you ever seen drugs in school?
Yes.
Have you ever caught students in the act of doing drugs?
Yes.
What measures are taken to take care of the issue?
Severe measures depending on how many times this has occurred, but Mr. Neely has a zero tolerance policy for that. So
When you see these students doing these drugs, where do you usually find them?
well, it's been a couple occasions out on the field, a couple occasions in the bathroom. I've been here for 13 years, so in 13 years we've run into them in very interesting places. So yes, but minimal. I believe that on campus we have it under control.
After listening to differing opinions about the topic, we decided to verify for ourselves how big of an issue this really is, so we took it a step further and conducted an anonymous survey. Our survey included questions such as, have you ever seen drugs on campus, in which 51% said yes. Do you know anyone that does drugs on campus? 73% said yes. And finally, have you ever made use of any drugs in school? 20% said yes. Finally, after gathering all this information, we found 3 interviewees with important things to say. They chose to remain anonymous. So when was the first time you were introduced to drugs?
It was the beginning of 8th grade. I was introduced to it by my brother, actually.
When was the first time you were introduced to drugs?
I was introduced, or that I started doing?
That you started.
last year.
When was the first time you were introduced to drugs?
Probably 8th grade.
8th grade. So, besides your brother, what other influences compelled you to become a user?
I mean, when you walk around school every day, you hear people talking about it a lot. My curiosity peaks, and I just want to try it.
My friends would smoke.
A few friends at the religious community were smoking, and they offered me.
Are you still using?
I am.
Once in a while, I smoke, like once a month maybe.
No.
And no explicit details like how do you obtain your supply?
You know, there are a lot of people. It's not a hard thing to get.
Do you usually obtain it at school then?
Or
out of school?
Both. It just depends on when I want it and when I need it.
Were you ever caught?
No.
I have not been caught, no.
I have not been caught, but I have been questioned about it by the school.
Do you yourself deal drugs or invite others to do drugs with you?
Only if I know that they do smoke and I'm very close with them.
People that I know that do drugs, I'm always like, hey, let's do drugs together. You know, let's smoke together, let's trip.
Have you ever attempted to stop using?
I have. For specific people, I wanted to quit because not for just, to help them to act normal, I guess, around them, but also to help me because it's unhealthy.
What is the prime location in general that you do drugs, whether at school or out of school?
To be quite honest, school events like basketball games, football games.
It's always in a safe location. It's never somewhere out in public. I know people do use it in school.
Do you think drugs are an issue in this school?
Yeah. There shouldn't be teenagers using drugs at all.
Do you ever think about continuing to use it again?
Not necessarily, no.
No.
Well, it could screw up my future.
Even though almost 2/3 of students don't view marijuana use as harmful, many other drugs are still circulating in high school, whether it is cocaine, opiates, or even heroin.
It is indeed a fact that drugs are an issue in every high school, and to tell the truth, Cypress Bay is no exception.